Okay, so this is going to be take two because I actually did do a introduction, and beautiful Renate informed me that wasn't recording. It's because I didn't have my glasses on. But take it off. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are receiving this gorgeous transmission. I would love to introduce you to Renate. Renate is a gorgeous podcast queen. She is a voice activator and a quantum healer. And I had the most beautiful time meeting Renate probably about 2 years ago, and we shared a room together at one of our mentors' place, and we stayed up talking the whole night, like every night about everything, and it was just so beautiful. And from there, I've always had just such a special place for Renate in my heart, and I wanted to get Renate on this just so she could talk to us about her podcasting journey and her gorgeous offerings, because I know that there's so much power within our voice and there's so much power within storytelling. And it's such a gorgeous mix of what Renate offers within the storytelling and the voice and the podcasting and the activations, which is just so gorgeous. So, Renate, welcome.
Thank you so much, Beck. I'm so honored to be here in this beautiful space with you, and I just can't wait to dive deeper with you and talk all the things.
Me too, me too. So there is another thing which I forgot to mention, um, is Renate also is a kirtan singer. Is that actually where you started your journey? Is it through kirtan, or tell me, how did you start your gorgeous voice, like activating your voice?
Yeah, so I would say it definitely started with kirtans and chanting mantras. It's so beautiful. Like I remember when I was actually working as a flight attendant. That was about 6 years ago, and I used to go to like yoga studios, and they always had like a kirtan on a Sunday or something. And I was really drawn to that. So I ended up just always like in a yoga studio and chanting mantras. And there was something about mantras that just really soothed my soul. Like there was something so magical about it. And then when I actually went to Australia, Adelaide. That was in 2020, just actually when COVID hit. I went to a beautiful yoga studio there where, wow, the kirtans were amazing. There were like so many people there, and I never seen kirtans like that before. And just the energy was just, oh, I absolutely loved it. I would say that's where really my journey of activating my voice and really allowing my voice started to happen. And I really found my voice again, like my singing voice. And I always thought that I can't really sing. So it's actually really interesting that through the help of chanting mantras and just allowing myself to just be loud and to be heard, I totally reclaimed back that part. So yes, I would say that was a little bit of my journey.
That's so beautiful. One of my the start of my journey was actually I went to a Hare Krishna. Oh, actually, that's not true. It's not the start. But it was a start of the next phase of one of my journey. And it was I went to a Hare Krishna village to do yoga teacher training, and every day we did half an hour of kirtan. And just there was different types of it, like nice and slow, and then others which were like really fast, and ones which we got up and all danced. And it was just one of these, a way for me to, one, activate my singing voice. And I'm not a singer. And I'm not one of, like, I'm actually one of those that I'm not a singer. You know how, like, I think you found your singing voice. But it was actually just it reminded me of just having the joy of singing. Um, and so I can totally, totally, totally understand um, that, because it's such a beautiful, beautiful journey. So tell me about, what was one of your first awakenings that you had, particularly around with your voice? So outside of singing kirtan, what was another awakening for you?
Mm, well, that was my podcast, I would say.
Mm.
Oh my God. Yeah, when I started my podcast, okay, little bit back. Yeah, it was in 2018. I worked as a flight attendant, and I actually quit my job in that year as well. And I flew to India to do a yoga teacher training. And then I think half a year later or something like that, I actually started my own podcast. And during my flight attendant life, I felt really disconnected, like it wasn't really my soul's work, even though I love traveling and seeing beautiful places in the world and staying in the most beautiful hotels. Like that, definitely an amazing lifestyle, but it actually led me to burnout. And as a highly sensitive person, and I didn't know that until a little bit later, like I found out that, you know, that job is just not my soul's purpose. Like I thought there was so much more to life.
Mm.
And that was also the time when I started listening to podcasts. That was the first time ever. And I listened to German podcasts because I'm from Germany. And there was especially one podcast called Happy, Holy, and Confident, and was all about spirituality, but also high sensitivity and just about all the things. And that was like one of the first times where I was like, oh, like just thinking outside of my box and how you can actually also use your voice for, you know, something else. And I'm like, oh my God, I want to start a podcast, you know, like I had like that. Oh my God, I just want to like just that excitement of like, I want my own podcast one day. And then I think it was like, it still took me at least 1.5 years or something to actually start my own podcast. So yeah, before that, I kind of needed to quit that job and, you know, go to India and totally like find myself and like reconnect also with my body because I was really disconnected with my body too. And just with my soul as well, like I was disconnected on like every level you can imagine, and I had just so much stress in myself. But then, I remember I was going with my partner at the time to Canada to do like a work and travel year, and something inside of me was like, I need to start that podcast. Like there was something really pulling me forward, and I didn't know what that was. I would say it was probably like my higher self, just really calling me forward to step into this like new world. And then I just started. You know, gathered some information online. I actually did even like a little podcast course too, just to like, okay, how do I actually start? Because there's so many ins and outs with podcasting. And then when I started to record myself, I mean, at the beginning, I was really self-conscious and really self-judgmental about my own voice. But then over time, I do have to say, like, the more I practice it and like over the years, I really noticed that my voice changed. And it was really like, that was the first awakening of my voice, I would say, because I was just talking without like thinking, let's say, and just really coming from the heart. So I hope that answers your question.
How beautiful. And what was your podcast about? Like, what was the name of it?
It was German, so it was called Freigeist, but it's free spirit. Yeah,
Oh,
so I just talked about everything and anything because I saw myself as a free spirit. I was just like, I'm a free spirit. I'm just gonna talk about this and this and this and just. I'm also a manifesting generator. I'm a human design, so I have so many passions. So
yes, me too. But I think my doctor called that ADHD, so I'm not quite sure. It could be hand in hand. Um,
yeah, same.
so actually, so did you have you what's your podcast called now? So have you kept the same free spirit or have you started a new one?
I started a new one, so that was in 2021. I changed it to the Wonderwoman podcast because I love Marvel movies and I love the Wonder Woman movies. So I was like, I'm just gonna call my podcast Wonder Woman, and I just love the energy. And I'm actually just about to publish a total new podcast, which is all about speaking your truth. And that will be really, really beautiful because I feel like that's where I will actually allow myself to tell more about my story and just be my most authentic self and really speak my truth and have also other beautiful souls on to speak their truth and share their story. So yeah, I feel like I'm constantly like evolving, like as you grow,
Yeah.
your podcast evolves and grows as well. So that's what I really found.
No, 1,000%. And I think also what I got from that is I was listening. So I listened to the next Soul Level, I think it's called by Alex Ferrara. And he has a few different lanes in it. And so one of his is like those that have a near death, and then those that are like channelers and blah, blah, blah. So, like, I guess we don't have to totally change what we've already got. So if someone else is like you that has gone, hey, I'm a free spirit and I'd love to do this, or hey, because they all sort of mix in together, and that you could kind of still keep your same brand, I guess, and just have different parts of it.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it's like not limiting yourself and putting yourself in a box. Like
yeah.
I just never like that. And I feel like the secret is really just starting out,
Mm,
just doing it.
mm.
Yeah.
So what would be your top tip to someone who would like to start a podcast, apart from just doing it, like apart from just get on there and do it. Like, what would you say? What would you go? This would be my top tip for the person who would like to start a podcast.
So the first thing is I truly think it's important that you align with your mission and vision first, and
Mm,
you start from that place. Like, what do you actually want to create? What is your bigger vision behind this? What is the purpose of actually starting a podcast? Why is it important to you? Like, really asking yourself those questions, because that is actually something that I wasn't connected with when I started. And I actually think that throughout the years, because I didn't have that vision, I didn't have that mission, like I didn't know what it was, and I was not really clear, and I was like, oh, I'm just doing a podcast. But if you're not connecting to this like higher purpose of your podcast, really feel like it will be harder for you to keep going, or you just don't know why you're doing it, or you're not even starting really. And that's where I actually feel like that a lot of women that I worked with, they sometimes don't really know. They just have that calling, let's say, to start the podcast. But when we go really deep into, let's say, the future and work with the future timelines and really drop into that, like what is actually possible in, like, when you start a podcast, like, oh my goodness, like doors can open for you. Like, for example, when I started, I started to suddenly work for other podcasters. And that was like an avenue for me where I was like, I never actually thought that I would do that one life. But I have to say that starting a podcast truly changed my life completely. And now I'm helping other leaders to really amplify their mission and their impact. And I never thought that I would be able to do that, but for some reason, it kind of just like came to me. So I really feel like that is like one of the first things, and that's really the foundation of everything. Yeah.
no, that's beautiful. And do you think that you could, like, is it best to start by yourself, or would you suggest to get other people in it? And, like what you said about bringing in with other leaders. So do you think that it's a good way to sort of just start off talking about with yourself, like just doing it yourself, or collaboration?
I'm all about collaboration, to be honest. Also, I would suggest to look into human design if you're a manifesting generator or a generator, because you have a sacral authority, or most of the generators and the manifesting generators. It's really good for you to respond to things. So it's really good to have interview partners. And that's where I feel like the energy gets really amplified in our sacrals, and that will be even more magnetic, I feel. And that was also my experience, and that's why I love interviews so much. That's why I love having people on my podcast and interview them. So I would totally suggest that, looking into human design. But if you're really feeling the call more to kind of practice by yourself, because it really depends, I feel like, really on your energy type. Because I also know, for example, manifestors, they're really good to actually have a like just solo episodes. They can just like, because they have such a big energy and they're really happy to actually talk by themselves, let's say. But it just really depends. But I mean, I'm all about collaboration, to be honest. So yeah, I would suggest that.
No, me too. And so when people work with you, is this what do you go through their human design and do you go through what would be best for them? Like, so I guess the question I'm probably really asking is, what do people get when they work with you?
Yeah, oh my God, I get a lot of things. So working with me is really multidimensional. And sometimes hard to explain it into words. Like you're not just getting all the podcast things. Like that's definitely one thing. That's like all the masculine side of it, I would say, like all the structure and like really planning out your podcast episodes and brainstorming all the things together, which is absolutely fun. Like it's like one of my most favorite things to do. But you're also receiving, like, let's say the divine feminine part, like that energy healing support where you receive quantum activations and healings, where we really amplify like your voice and your truth and like, what is it that you're here to share? And yes, we also dive into the human design chart because I did actually a certification this year in human design because I'm such a freak about human design and I'm like, yeah, I love all the things about it. So yeah, we're actually diving deeper into your message, like your Mercury and what you're here to really share with the world and what will be really magnetic to like to attract really your soul clients and just your soul tribe, which is like, yeah, it's really, really cool tool. And yeah, so there's energy healing, there's the podcast tag. I guess that's just like as a mani gen, like I just feel like I can really tap into the energy so much and trust my intuition and just, wow, like, yeah, it's, oh my God, it's so epic.
It is so epic, and there's so many things in that that I really love. And I think the first one is we all need to know the masculine. What do we need to do? How do we do it? Like all of just the basic how-tos. The other thing which I love about you bringing in the quantum healing and also the human design is the fact that you kind of get guiding us the way and helping us find our own way through, which I think is just really gorgeous. And then the other question, which I really probably want to ask is, so if you've got your Mercury, because I've got my Mercury in, and I'm just asking you a question just without even giving you any notice. So if you need it, but so my Mercury is in, I'm sure it's in my 10th house in Capricorn. So am I putting you on the spot about what that would mean and how best to use?
Um, yeah, I'm not really let's say working with or I'm not really good with like astrology and like the Capricorn and
Ah,
all of this because in human design you can look like in your chart there's like a number next to your Mercury sign and like there's a gate there. So my gate is for example in gate 8, which is all about contribution and being like your most authentic self and uniqueness. So if I actually bring that into my messaging on social media or even on my podcast and say like something I contribute or I have, people automatically like there's something about it because it's like in your soul's blueprint and people just get a bit like, oh, like they're attracted to that for some reason. And you can like look up in your conscious Mercury, like which gate that is, and just like read through it. Like you can just look it up online. I'm also happy to do it like for you or something. Like if you send me the human design chart, maybe I can have a look at it
Oh, no,
later.
it's so
So
beautiful.
be-
And I just so put you on the spot there because I'm like, that sounded so interesting. And I had this like, oh, I wonder what that means. But I also, so it's perfect. And no, I won't send you. I can look it up myself. Thank you. Thank you. Now, um,
but actually, one thing with Capricorn, you know, they actually have, I feel like they have a bit of masculine energy like in, yeah, like in the, when I tune into that energy. And I feel like it's like it's really good in your messaging if there's like a structure or something to it. But this is just like my intuition speaking there, where I'm like, you can probably bring in like the energy of the Capricorn somehow into the messaging, let's say. So yeah, I don't know if
no,
that
that's
helps.
gorgeous. I love that. And thank you. And I completely just go. I put you on the spot.
That's all
I was like,
right.
this is one of these things that I'm sure if I was a cartoon, you would have just seen a big light bulb at like when you were saying that. It's like, oh, that was interesting. Um, so
Yeah.
what are some top three or however many you would like to give about what not to do when you do a podcast?
So, so yeah, there are definitely a couple of things. What not to do, I really feel like because that's something that I used to do so much. Wanting everything to be perfect, like editing everything out and wanting everything to be polished at the beginning. Like, seriously, you know, when you begin, you make mistakes. You know, like I did so many mistakes. You can't even believe. Like, I sometimes edited a podcast episode for like 2 or 3 hours. And I was just not satisfied. Like I was such a perfectionist when I started. Oh my God. I was like, oh my God. And really judgmental about my voice and just like wanting to polish it and this and oh my God. And so I would totally recommend to be your most authentic self and like stop the perfectionism, like drop that shit. Seriously. Like we don't need that. Because we're moving now more into a world where you know, people want to see more authenticity. They want to see more truth. Like they just want to see the raw and real you. And they're so much more interested also in your own story and not about like how many times you said ams and ems and okay, well, did I say the right word here or whatever? And it's, you know, like just don't do those things, I would say, because that would save you a lot of time. um, and also one of the things like really checking like your microphone, if your microphone is connected. I think that
You
would
what?
also really, yeah, that would really help because if your microphone isn't connected, and I think that happened to me like one time or something, it was maybe connected with my laptop or maybe to even something else. I don't freaking know. It didn't, like, it didn't even pick up the noise or something. It's like one time, and I was like, oh my God, I just talked for like half an hour and it didn't record it. So that was a fail. So just like, you know, when you set up, just make sure, okay, your microphone is there. If you do like a video, does the light, you know, is the light okay? Like, just like checking that before you start recording. And also just, you know, like just get yourself familiar really with like everything. Like if you're using Zoom, like Riverside or Audacity, like any of the editing platforms or whatever. Um, but yeah, like try not to be perfect, I would really say. Like be okay with making mistakes because we all been there and that's okay. We're all human, really. So I think that's what I would say.
It's so beautiful. And as you're talking about, like, as you're going through, and I was thinking, yeah, I'm not going to edit out that poor question I put you, like I gave you, because you answered it really beautifully. And that was like more of a reflection on the question I asked rather than what you, like, you were such a professional in how you answered it. So we're just going to keep that in. And I agree, it kind of sucks the absolute life and joy if you try and have it as polished as like as possible. Because it just does take so much time. So we'll just leave that little thing in. And you're right about the lighting. The lighting is actually really important. So I had to redo a whole podcast that I did with someone.
Mm.
So I'll give you my top ones that people can learn from me. So I did this interview with this girl. She was perfect. The whole thing, her lighting, her voice, everything was perfect. And I didn't have the setup properly. So on Zoom, you actually have it on speaker. And I thought I had it on speaker, but I didn't. So one, the lighting was terrible. I was blacked out until I spoke, and then somehow like the light came. And we were side by side. So it was terrible. The second part was I'm swigging down on drinks as she's talking because I'm like, no one can see me. And so I'm drinking and just, I don't know what I was doing, but I was fart assing around and people could see. And I'm just looking at it going, that was horrendous. And I just remember going, I can't, like, I couldn't put that out because it wouldn't have done her a service. And it was just, I had to like say to her, I'm so sorry, my gorgeous one, I have completely messed that up. But the second one we did was also like really good and it was great, but I can totally understand because, yeah, they were horrendous, horrendous ones.
Yeah, and you know, like the first ones that you might do, that you might record, that might be shit, you know, to be honest. Like they might be not really, really great, but you know, you learn from them. You learn from those things. And I really feel like once you actually made those mistakes, you won't do them again. Like you're actually really making sure, okay, is my microphone connected? Like, and also what I feel like, especially if you have other interview partners, what I found is like their sound was often not really good. Like sometimes they were in really big rooms with echoes or something, and that wasn't really great. So, or sometimes, oh my God, I remember I had an interview with an author, and like, I mean, our talk was amazing, but there was like such a like a shush in the background or something, like on his microphone or something. And I tried to edit that out, like the whole like episode. I really tried to kind of polish it, and I was just like, shit, I think I need to record it again. Like that was so, and we had such a good conversation. So you know, that happened, and I learned from that as well to actually tell to the interview partner as well, hey, make sure you have a really good microphone, you know, you have headphones, you're not in like a big echoey room where you have like thousands of noises or whatever. So I think that's also one thing that I wanted to mention.
And do you think people need to go out, like, is it an expensive setup or to do a podcast? Or can you just do it like, because I noticed you've got a beautiful microphone there. And do you think that it's helpful to go out and buy all the fancy equipment before you start?
Um, it depends maybe what kind of person you are. I would recommend it because it just gives like another quality, like another level to the podcast. And to be honest, like I absolutely love speaking into a microphone and listening back to it. I just love, yeah, I just love it for some reason now. Like I'm really appreciating it. And at the beginning when I started, I still bought a microphone. It was kind of like a cheap one for, I think it was like $50 or something. It was the Blue Snowball, and that was totally enough at the beginning. Really, like you don't actually need a super fancy setup, I would say. You know, you can just get yourself a really good microphone, which is like recommended, and then make sure that you know you have a pop filter as well. That really helps to like you know, I have like a pop filter here in front of the microphone that just helps to take out all like the little vibrational sounds, let's say, in the room and stuff. So it really, really helps. I would totally recommend a pop filter. Like that changed a lot for me when I did that. And just, yeah, making sure what kind of room you are, I think. I think that is quite important as well. Like just making sure that it's not like echoing back or something, but you can always try and test it out and stuff like that. So I wouldn't say you need a fancy microphone. I think the more you probably evolve, you might desire it. Like that's something that I desire, like to be actually in a really soundproof studio. And that's what I desire. And to have also people coming over where I have like two microphones and, to have like a beautiful setup. So that's like one of my dreams to, yeah, like to do that one day. So,
All right, well, when you get it, I'll come down and I'll do one with you because it sounds so
yeah.
fun.
Oh my God.
And so my beautiful Renate, how can people work with you?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me on Instagram, of course, and on Facebook. Um, and we can just have a chat and like all the ways I can support you with the podcasting. I have podcast mentorship. I also do done for you podcast services.
Oh, that's
So
fancy. So what's that one? What do you do with the Done For You podcast servicing?
So basically, all you need to do is press record, and I do all the editing. Like I'm such an edit freak for some reason. Like I actually really love editing and doing all the technical things. Like I would have never thought that I would do that, but it's actually such a masculine thing that I'm just kind of enjoying like listening to people and then editing and all of those things. So in a done for you service, it's basically you record all the episodes and I do, the show notes, the social media snippets for you. I edit the whole audio for you. And then I also launch the whole podcast for you. So that's like an option. And there's also like an ongoing podcast management service where I also do like the done for you piece for you. And yeah, that's how I actually support, I feel like mission led leaders really in their mission.
Oh, gorgeous. That's gorgeous. And because not everyone has that genius. So if you've got that and other people don't, then it's a very good option just to kind of hand that over to you. One thing which I would actually like to include in this, if it's okay, is a few weeks ago you did the most amazing voice activation. Is that something that you offer for podcasts, or is that something that you offer as part of your quantum healing? So, um, because that was the most amazing and beautiful transmission ever. How can people work with you, and like how could you bring that into your work with people?
Yeah, so it's definitely also included into the podcast work. So for the women who really desire that, but it's also really in general for women who really desiring to speak their truth, but are just feeling really blocked in like, how do I express it? Like, how do I express my needs and relationships and my business? Like, just like that self-expression piece, I really feel like that we as women have been really shut down for a long time. And it's really where also I feel, the witch wound, like, is really in our cells and our DNA. Like, it really came from our ancestors. So I do really deep ancestral healing. Like, I offer beautiful voice activation sessions, but also like a voice mentorship for really women who are desiring to go deeper into that. And I also feel like there will be a program coming out next year sometime, which will also go deeper into like really activating your voice, but really like that holy voice from within and that sacred voice. And I really feel like it's really deeply connected with, Egypt, because the pyramids or like Egypt in general, they are the throat chakra of the world. So I really feel like just like, yeah, I'm so connected to Egypt. Like I know I've been like so many freaking lifetimes in Egypt. So it's really connected to, these beautiful divine feminine ascended masters like Isis and Hathor, which really worked with the womb, but also with the voice and with the sound of the voice. So I really feel like that is something that I'm just so called to offer for like a group of women and to really help them to journey into that kind of temple, let's say. So yeah, that's like something I'm really excited about.
And I can actually see you doing that in like a few years' time of actually doing sacred journeys over there and doing the whole
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Like that would just be the most amazing tour ever. So let me know when that
Oh
comes.
my God.
I know.
Oh.
As you're talking, I'm like, ah, I can so see you doing it, and I could see you doing it in one of the like Isis's temple or So
Wow. Oh my gosh, you just give me an idea. I'm
I
like,
know.
oh my God.
I know it would be amazing. It would be totally
Yeah.
amazing. And there's actually so much in women being shut down and even down to so I was a very late talker, like I was a very late developer with a lot of things. I was like the baby. I had a very chatty older sister who was like 3.5 years older. So she would always talk for me. And, like, and I think I was kind of just like, yeah, and mum would carry me until I was 18 months. I was, I was just like a big lump of, I was a potato. It was like, talk for me. I had my mum like carry me. I'm like, ugh. Um, and she's got a very activated voice. So to the point where we went on a 4 or 5 day family tour, her and I were in the same car. We shared the same bed and or the room. And I don't think she shut up talking for the whole time, like the whole 5 days. And it's
Wow.
like that's a lot. But I was always one that would always be quiet, like I was quiet. So I have actually really developed excellent listening skills. I've developed like spatial awareness and what's going on. But it's not that voice activation. And I think there's so much power in it. And so it's such a beautiful journey and it's such a beautiful mission that you are assisting women. And, like even just to be able to find um, their voice. Because,
Yeah.
yeah. Because what the other thing which I was going to say, so I was in the army, which you may not know, but I was in the army for 30 years. And in my training, I actually have a really loud voice. So I can like
Mm.
project my voice really loudly. And I actually realized that you do drill. And so I'm on the parade ground and I'm doing drill. I was actually yelling louder than most of the men, like doing my drill commands and
Wow.
doing things. Which that I could have like confidence in doing because it was a practice thing. But I didn't have confidence in speaking my truth. Like I'd
Mm.
always be the one that would kind of hold back. I don't want to hurt people. I don't want to be, like, and I think that
Hmm.
that's just a natural thing that we are taught. And as also as women, like, don't sort of stand up, don't sort of stand out, don't sort of make yourself be known. So it's actually something that is such a powerful gift. And thank you for bringing it to the world. So, do you
Thank
have
you.
any parting gifts? It could be about anything that you choose, but if anyone was sitting here listening to this, what would be a parting word of wisdom from the beautiful Renate?
Oh, let me tune into this. Well, I would say really come back to your inner voice, your soul's voice, and really trust your intuition and your guidance in what you here to bring to this world and what you have to say, because there's so much in you. Like there's this big mission, this big vision, like you're here to really bring forth a change for whole humanity. And it's really time now to step more into that leadership and to bring really forth like your magic, your message, and your medicine, and really amplifying that and being like a lioness or a lion and just like roaring through the world and really being in the spotlight and being okay with being seen, because we are now safe to be seen and to be heard in this lifetime. There's no one coming out there and trying to hunt us down or whatever. Like these times are freaking gone. It's really time now to remember that you're safe to speak your truth, and you're safe here right now to bring your mission and your vision really to the world. And yeah, it's time like that. Let's not waste any more time. Kind of thing.
That's such a beautiful message. And thank you, thank you, thank you. And so, how people can connect, as Renata mentioned, that you can connect to her via her Facebook and Instagram, which I will include here. Um, and the gifts that you are providing people is so needed. So, thank you for stepping into your mission and thank you for listening to your inner guidance. And thank you for all the work that you're doing. It's just really powerful. And let me know, one, when you've got your little studio set up, because I'll be there. And two, when you do your little, not your little, when you do your beautiful sacred tours over in Egypt and you activate the people's voices over there, because that would be amazing. And I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
Yeah, same. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Beck. I
Oh,
loved every minute with you. It was such an honor to be here with you and sending you so much love.
thank you, thank you. Amazing. Thank you. Bye, everyone.